Welcome everyone to Black Man Speak. I'm your co-host, VJR Stewart.
And I'm your co-host TD3. And it is Wednesday, June the 25th, 2025. Jimmy, if it's Wednesday night,
It's certainly Black Man Speak. So let's give a shout out to Count Basie before our theme music, to Forest Films in our own studio for help subsidizing our virtual studio. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Even if you've already subscribed, just subscribe again just to make sure that you didn't get dropped. And then hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when new shows are uploaded, which is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. You can start streaming on 5 different platforms that we stream to. And if you're watching the show live, invite a friend, a neighbor, co-worker, family member. It doesn't matter. So you guys will have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week. With that being said, Tom, let's do what we do best, which is bring information to the Black community, leading that information to the Black community, and only no one can do it the way we do it. So let's get started.
all right, folks, we got a jam-packed show tonight with two of our returning special guests. And we are very excited to host our colleagues and friends, Dwight Johnson and Tirrell Richard, who are going to talk about real estate and where it is going this year. But before that, we have a couple of things that we want to make sure, some housekeeping issues that we do address before we get to our special guest for this evening. So let's go ahead and get started. We do want to offer some condolences before we go on with our main topic today. Some of you may know this beautiful face, Miss Lynn Hamilton, beloved for her role as Donna Harris on Sanford and Son. For those of us who are probably boomers or are ex-genders, became an ancestor recently on June the 19th at the age of 95. Her death from natural causes was announced by her former manager, Reverend Calvin Carson, who noted she was surrounded by family and loved ones at the time of her ascension. Born in Yazoo City, Mississippi, Hamilton's career spanned over 5 decades. She studied acting at Chicago's Goodman School of Drama and debuted in John Cassavetes' show in Shadows in 1959. Her TV credits include The Waltons, Roots, The Next Generation, and Generations. But her marquee role was Fred Sanford's fiancée that will remain iconic, the great Donna Harris. So
Okay.
we would like to offer our condolences to her family, those in the entertainment business, those who knew and loved her well, and of course, give our condolences to her family. Next, we have someone whose music you probably know. Matter of fact, one of my favorite songs back in the day, Kevin Yarborough, half of the legendary R&B duo and hit Yarborough and Peoples, became an ancestor at the age of 17. 72, I'm sorry, on June the 19th due to complications from heart disease. His wife and musical partner, Elisa Peoples, revealed the heartbreaking news. The duo, best known for their 1981 hit, Don't Stop the Music, left a mark on the 1980s music scene. Their
Yes.
unique blend of soulful vocals and funky beats produced other hits like Heartbeats and I Wouldn't Lie. So for those of you who are longtime music fans and, like me, were lovers of Yarborough and people who made so many great
We
songs,
all were big fans.
we want to offer our condolences to his lovely wife and, of course, the family and those in the entertainment industry who knew and loved them well. And finally, for those of you who are kind of old school sports fans, some of you may not know this name, but folks who have been around for a while might know this name. Longtime Minnesota Viking defensive end Jim Marshall, who for decades held the NFL record for the most consecutive games played, became an ancestor on June the 4th, a few weeks ago, at the age of 87 after a long hospitalization. Marshall joined the Vikings in their inaugural season in 1961 and played in every game thereafter. His record of 282 consecutive games played, 270 with the Vikings, which he established upon retiring in 1979, stood until quarterback Brett Favre broke that record, while also in a Vikings jersey in 2009. This is one of those old school Jimmys, never took a day off. The guy was a part of the famed Purple People Eaters.
Yeah, Tom. I remember the people eaters from the Vikings, but Yeah, that won't happen in today's age, man. Guys just playing through injuries is just not the for the cards anymore, man. You get any kind of injury now, these guys are worried about trying to survive to the end of their contracts. So yeah, not taking any unnecessary risk with playing injured.
So those are our condolences for today. Of course, we want to offer our condolences to the Marshall family, those within the NFL community, those, of course, who are from his hometown, and of course, will miss him for his contribution, not on the field, but off the field as well, as he did a lot in the community as well. He is definitely one of those folks who is a dying breed of guys who could play while hurt, injured, and just toughed it out. And the Minnesota Vikings family, of course.
And so, Tom, since we're done with that, I want to take a second to give a shout out to Ed. We had him on the show last week, the commish. I've
And
been,
great.
yeah, they're great. So I haven't been able to catch a show on Saturdays because I've been working on another project, trying to get my mobile kitchen up and running. But I have discovered that Ed has some YouTube segments, about 5 minutes. Most of them are shot in his car, from what it seems, where he covers some various stories. So if you're not able to catch his show on Saturday, the radio show, go out and just do a search on Ed Gray or the commish. He has some very interesting topics that he covers. Now his politics and my politics don't agree, but I do like the fact that he has enough courage to actually go there and cover some of these topics. So if you get a chance, go out and do a search on Ed Gray. Subscribe to his channel also, and he has some excellent things to say about some of the topics that he covers.
All right. In that case, let's acknowledge a couple of folks that we have on the chat line. Miss Dominique out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. I want to thank her for joining us on the chat line today. Also, Miss Tanya out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I want to thank her for joining us as well. For those of you who may be watching right now, join us on the chat line. Let us know what you think about our stories. And since we have two special guests on today, also, we want you to come and bring your real estate questions as well, because I'm pretty sure that Brother Dwight and Mr. Tirrell will have a lot of interesting things to say. And do you want to talk for a couple of minutes on what just the draft that just happened, or you want to wait till the end, Jimmy?
We can wait till the sports segment at the end.
Okay, good deal. In that case, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and bring in our two special guests today so we can go ahead and move forward with our main topic for the evening. We have Mr. Tirrell Richard, who is with Affinity Mortgage, who is a broker. He helps you find money when you're trying to get something done. And then we have Mr. Dwight Johnson of the D1 Realty team, who helps you find that property that you're looking for, whether you're looking for that first home, whether you're looking to expand, or if you're a real estate investor as well. Gentlemen, thank you for coming back, and welcome back to Black Men Speak.
My pleasure, as always. It's great to be back.
Thanks for having us.
Good deal. So we're going to talk a lot bit about real estate today. And, we talked at the very beginning of the year in February, kind of, trying to find out with the new administration coming in, what may or may not be happening, when it comes to interest rates and things of that nature. We're now almost halfway through the year. And there were some things we were anticipating that may or may not have happened, but the markets are always there. So what we'll do is have you both to start out, for those of you who may not have seen our show before, tell us a little bit about what you do individually, and then we will get into the meat and potatoes as to what you saw in the first half of this year, what's been happening recently, and then what you see for the second half. We'll start out with you, Brother Dwight.
All right. Once again, like I said, I always look forward to this time of the year. 3 months, they go by really fast, but this is one of the favorite things that I get to do outside of real estate, besides helping clients realize wealth through the vehicle of real estate. So what I do, I'm a residential real estate agent. I work under the Keller Williams label in the Houston area. So I service, I'm licensed for the entire state, but I like to be knowing that real estate is hyper local. I really focus here on all over the Houston market. So I help people buy, sell, and invest in real estate, make good real estate choices. We run a small but mighty team, and we have fun doing it and helping people reach their goals.
All right, Tirrell, you're up next.
Yes, I help people the opposite side of Dwight, but also the same side. I help people actually finance those dreams. I'm the person that gives them the money to buy the homes. My biggest thing is helping them develop, as Dwight actually also said, develop wealth through real estate, which is the quickest way to become wealthy in America, in my opinion. And with what I do, I just make sure that we make the right decisions. We know when to hit when the market's hot. We also make sure that you get the best deal, and I show them how to get their credit where it needs to be when it's time to pull the trigger.
All right, that sounds great. So, fellas, let's go ahead and get started. Now that we have the first half of the year in the rearview mirror, what would you say were your highlights or even lowlights of the first half of the first year of 2025 of this year? What do you see in the rearview mirror? Then we'll get to now, and then we'll look forward.
You want to start that out, Brother Tirrell? You want me to take it?
I'll take it. Rearview mirror, I'm not sure. So I started the year thinking rates were going to really drop. They did not, but that's not a problem. We're in what we officially call a buyer's market. That means buyers right now can get premium dollar from the sellers in terms of, what they can get in concessions, money from them, lower prices, different things like that. Because right now, truthfully, there's more inventory than there are buyers. That may be because of the rate, it may be because of other things, but this is very favorable for buyers in this market. This is probably, in my belief, one of the best times in America to buy. Rates are a little high, and you can also get property a little low, and you also can get more money from the sellers. And the reason I think it's better is because even if you get a higher rate, when rates go down, you bought low, and then you can always refinance low.
Yeah. So I'll jump right in there. Looking back over the 6 months, you'll often hear us say on this show that we don't have a crystal ball, but we absolutely were expecting some rate drops at the top of the year, and they just haven't. The fact of the matter, they haven't happened. But when working with the right sets of folks, that can be a golden opportunity. So we are right a little bit above goal on units, slightly under goal on unit volume, but we're still helping a lot of people. And so it's just so important that you're partnered with folks that are going to put you in the position to win whatever market. But right now, it's absolutely a buyer's market. So the big story all year was rates. The rates are historically high, and they're impacting everything else in the real estate space. They're impacting inventory. Bro, Tirrell mentioned the inventory is sitting, but it's still historically low because a lot of people don't want to give up the good rate. So we're not getting enough houses on the market. A lot of people don't want to buy because of the high rates. But what we've been able to find is our clients are getting some phenomenal deals right now. The ones that will put their toe in the water and jump out and trust the process and trust the professionals that do it day in and day out at a high level. They're all winning. So that's probably it. The rates, and we still believe we're going to get some relief eventually.
We'll get some relief. There'll going to be rate drops. Also, the Fed president going to get fired eventually. I have a question, Tirrell. I'm going back even further now. Tommy want to look 6 months back. I want to look a few years back. And I want you to bring us up to date on Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and whoever else was wrapped up and was being investigated by the Department of Justice years ago over redlining and predatory lending. And I remember Bank of America coming out with this deal where they were going to waive credit scores, use rental history as part of their evaluation, waive down payments and closing costs. And they had 4 cities that they were going to pilot this program with. And that was supposed to be sort of the answer to some of the things they were being charged with. And can you bring us up to date, you being a finance person, so you know where they stand with how many of these deals you've actually written or anyone else? I think the last time you were on the show, you said Bank of America was still in the evaluation process or still trying to put the program together, the finishing touches. And now I think that was a year or two ago. So where are we at now with this great program that was supposed to answer some of the wrongdoing from the banks?
Well, in my belief, I call that politicking. We get several politics presidents that say they're going to do something and don't even accomplish that. I believe that they had a great program, but they had so many different qualifications on it that were underlining that we didn't see, that they didn't come to fruition. I had a great many customer leave me in order to get this great deal Bank of America was offering, and came back to me. And just for just circling a little bit back, I worked for Bank of America for 5 years. And I let them know that when you're dealing with the people with the money, you deal with the big banks, they already have the clientele they want. They know they're going to do $20 billion worth of deals with or without you. Right. So they're not going to help you as much as you think they're going to help you.
So they put a black face on this. They put a black face on it. Let's be honest about it. They put a black face on it. They did absolutely nothing. They made it seem like, the areas that were affected, that they were ready to pump billions of dollars into this to rectify past wrongdoings. And really, in the end, it was just lip service. Now that it's been some years have passed, nobody's looking in the rearview mirror at it. It's all forgotten about. And like you said, the people who were leaving you go to Bank of America to take advantage of this deal, found out that everything that shine is not everything that glitters is not gold, and then now having to come back to you to go more traditional routes and other routes because the Bank of America and probably Wells Fargo and probably others who are involved in this really just outright lied, as far as I'm concerned. This is just a waiting game to wait until the climate changes. And once the climate changes, to get everybody off your back, let's just move on. And it's just a scandal that we've swept under the rug and forgotten about.
Well, I'm not going to say they didn't do anything. And the reason I'm going to say that, because if you help 1 or 2% of the people that are struggling, did you really do anything? Maybe, but no, not really. So they may have helped 1% of the people out there, but their rules were just so strict that it was never going to help the amount of people they said is going to help. But what they've learned through, I think, probably politicians, is that if you promise something and you don't come through, you have the belief in the people that you did something.
Tirrell, you and Tommy have a nice way of putting things, man. Y'all are very nice men. I'm going to just be blunt and just say it. They outright lied. So all these requirements that they put on the program, one, they didn't advertise all those requirements.
Correct.
They say they were waiving your credit report. They're going to use your rental history for evaluation. They're going to waive a down payment and closing costs. They were very upfront and specific about those things. And if they were able to squeeze out 1 or 2% through by putting some other requirements on it, that 1 or 2% was all they were interested in anyway. It wasn't like that they were interested in the masses, because they wasn't. But if you could squeeze out another 1%, another 2% of people that would have qualified anyway through your program, and you're able to suck them in this way, then it was all worth it. But to me, this is just a nice way of saying, hey, we duped everyone, we got the government off our back, and now it's old news. Let's move on.
Well, just me working there, I gathered a lot of friends from there, and I was a big producer there. And 3 of my friends that are big producers there, out of 3 of them, only one of them did one of those deals.
One?
Well, the reality of it is, Jimmy, when
all these years,
Jimmy, Tirrell started out saying it was politics. And when he said politics, that's what he meant. Politics. You tell them about something, you wait for a little while, then people forget about it, and then you move on.
The issue I have is I have a problem when folks, whether it's political, whether it's social, it doesn't matter. When you put a black face on it, as if we're the biggest beneficiaries, affirmative action, DEI, there's lending, it doesn't matter. Welfare, Slick Chip, all these different programs that they put black faces on, but we're not the ones who benefit from it. And it's just another a switch program where they make it seem like we're going to target black areas in these 4 cities. And for you to only, know someone who's only written like one of these deals out of 4 cities, You know, and
No,
we're talking like
not four
Dallas and
cities,
Charlotte and
the
some
whole
pretty
state,
southern cities.
the
Huh?
whole state, not four cities.
So
Well,
just let me know what it really was, Tom. This is just a program to try to squeeze out maybe a few people out of that live in these areas that would have qualified anyway for Bank of America or whoever else, for us to identify them and pull them out and say that we did something when really the whole goal was never ever to rectify wrongdoing. So I'm sorry, guy. I got to take a lot of y'all time. So let's move
you
on to the
sure
other
did.
real estate advice.
You sure did, Jimmy. But that is what politicians do. They find one person out of 2 million to say that they're trying to get something done, and then they don't do it, and they figure everybody's going to forget. It happens on
Oh,
both
everybody
sides.
has forgot except me.
Well, it's called the Community Reinvestment Act, CRA. What it says is that when you have a business in a certain area, you're supposed to help people of that area. So if you're a big bank, you're in every area. So therefore, you're not only supposed to help the people that are in the better parts of Dallas, you're supposed to help people in the worst parts of Dallas. So they have incentive that they're supposed to do, and they have goals they're supposed to do to help the poorest and the richest. And if they're not
CRA
doing
was
that,
passed
they
under
get penalized.
Obama, so it's been around for a while.
No,
And
it's been around forever.
and I have talked to a couple of people on a bank board in Shreveport. It's not to embarrass his bank. I won't mention their name. But at this luncheon, they are actively bragging on how they get around CRA.
Yeah,
You know, that they
of course.
constituents, most of the constituents are poor. Their branches are in poor areas. They're supposed to be making these loans. They don't because they're risky, and they're unprofitable for them. And so the luncheon is basically, with me being a fly on the wall, listening to these bank people, talk about how they get around CRA. You don't have to make these loans.
Yeah.
Well, the incorrect thing.
Politics.
If talk to your congressperson about it. But
But I'll say this. Let me bring this up. Don't let them tell you that CRA is losing. It's not. I mean, it's a good program and it helps out because you have to make the right decisions when it comes to CRA. They're not going to make the banks make all the money in the world, but they're not going to lose money. What happens is if you do have programs, and when they came out with this, and I'm not going to lie, you might like it, but if you have a poor track record in credit in terms of you haven't paid anybody, I don't think you should be somebody that we should be trying to give houses to. And they tried to make that a point, and I thought that was crazy. I thought the people that deserve homes, deserve a second chance, should have got get that opportunity. So if you're somebody that have paid nobody, why do I think that you're going to pay me?
Right.
So I thought that was crazy, and that's why they had those loopholes to make sure they said it, but nobody was going to qualify for that.
Good. Okay.
Politics is the study of who gets what and when they get it, and that's definitely a political topic. So we want to make sure you get out and vote.
Get out and vote.
But there's definitely a few things that have happened from a political standpoint recently that might be positive as we look forward. But I'll let you, Tommy, kind of set us up for the next round.
Okay, good deal. And Tirrell just kind of talked a little bit about what he, saw over the last half year since the beginning of the year. What are your thoughts on that subject, Dwight?
The same thing. Well, I sort of touched on it as well. Just rates controlled everything, and it kind of kept demand, kept inventory pent up, kept a lot of people on the sidelines, kept a lot of people nervous. But literally in the last 45 days, 60 days, either one of two things have happened. Either people are accepting these rate thing as the new reality, and we're starting to see more activity. We're starting to see more applications. We're signing more buyers to buyer rep agreements. We're putting more people in the cars. And as a result, we're putting more people under contract. So I don't know if people have accepted where we are. We talk about all the time that even at 7 and high 6s, historically speaking, if we do the 30-year average or even 40-year average, we are lower at 7% than where we are historically over the past 30 years. I think the historical 30-year mortgage rate is probably about 7.25% if you did it over 30 years. So even at these high rates, we're still lower than historical averages. So I think some people, that reality is setting in. Hey, if I'm going to buy eventually, I'm going to have to get out there. And I'm seeing people are starting to get out there.
Correct.
And if it drops drastically or even moderately, it's going to change the game. Right now is the best time for buyers. You have the most leverage right now as a buyer to pretty much, and we're seeing deals. 22,000 we got in one deal just recently, 6 on another, 18 on another. Free money, monopoly money that we're getting from sellers, because the sellers that have to sell have to, bow down to some degree to strong negotiations, strong qualified buyers.
What does this look like? Because I know one of the things that we've talked about in the past is just the sheer affordability of homes, which of course is impacted by interest rates. But we've also talked about some of our younger people who are, maybe, trying to buy their first home or something of that nature, or maybe have been renting and are looking to buy their first home. What in terms of the activity that you've seen out there, are these folks who are existing homeowners and they're looking to move into an additional home? What does the activity look like for first-time home buyers? Some of your younger folks who are trying to get into their first home. Is that starting to pick up some?
No, I'll take that question first. What's been hinted by Dwight is sellers right now, they are giving more money for you for your closing costs. They can't give you more money for your down payment. Mm-hmm. They can only give it towards your closing costs and your taxes and insurance, the first time around, not, the upcoming. So, but what I'm seeing out there and what I'm teaching and what I'm getting is a lot of first-time new buyers, because when he says $20,000, that's happening all the time. I'm actually getting builders who used to put their foot on our necks and offer 20 grand for somebody to buy a house, but give nothing if you don't use their lender. They're saying 20 grand to my lender, 15 grand to your lender if my lender can't beat it, because they need to sell their house as well. But my first-time home buyers, what I'm educating them is that they can help you out with closing costs. They can have, if they told you they're going to give you $1 million, they can only use what's going to go for closing costs and escrows, But what I'm telling them is for down payment, first-time home buyers in any state, and I represent Texas most, we have programs if you're a first-time home buyer. And a first-time home buyer is described as someone who hasn't owned a home in the last 3 years. It's not someone who has never owned a home. It's someone who hasn't owned a home in the last 3 years. We have programs out there, they'll pay for your down payment. So if you couple down them paying your down payment.
Down payment to how much, what percent, like 20%?
A down payment is 3.5% FHA.
3.5%?
Let me finish. 3.5% in FHA, 3 to 5% in conventional, 0% in USDA, 0% if you have what qualifies in VA, but also it can be more in certain cities. We have cities here in Texas like Plano that will offer $70,000, but that is more likened to what you were talking about with Wells Fargo, where they tell you we'll give you $70,000, but your house can't be more than $270,000, but you ain't gonna find in Plano. Yeah. So they can say that, but they're not going to give it. We have different other places that say we're going to give you a certain amount of dollars, but you can't make more than $45,000 a year, 50. The medium.
So is anyone doing 20% down anymore? Is that just
no? A lot of my customers are doing 20% down, but you know what they are? They're the ones that Dwight and myself help develop wealth through real estate. They're buying their second house, their third house, whatever. So they made money on their houses, they're selling them. So when we was talking about people selling their house and giving you all this money, that's not first-time home buyers. Those are people that, well, it could be first-time home buyers, but those are people that are buying another house and they gotta leave. They're going to another state or going to another city, and so they got to make a deal because they're buying a house as well. People that are not selling their houses right now that don't have another place to live and giving you that kind of money. The people that know they got to go somewhere and they have a time limit and they or in a crunch table, those are the ones that are going to go into their pockets and say, sell this house at a loss or at a small gain because I need to get to my next house.
We do have a question in the chat line that I'd like to have one of you guys to answer from Ms. Tanya. It says, how important is it for the first-time home buyers to understand whether they wanted to move into an HOA neighborhood or not? HOA fees are up to $500 to $700 a quarter. Some are $350 a month, a costly surprise.
I'll take that. It's very important. It's important that you know everything about the transaction, not just that. So if you're with the right people, you understand it all. And I know Brother Tirrell will do fee sheets, and we kind of predict your insurance, we predict your taxes, we predict your HOA, and we make sure our customers are informed that they're looking at the overall cost to own that home, not just principal and interest, etc. But it's a very important. And you need to talk about it. If you're in these communities, if you want to be in a gated community, for example, and there are gated communities here in Houston that have first-time home buyer pricing, but just know it's going to cost you to be in those things. When you're in the neighborhood with all the walking trails, and the lakes, and the pavilions, and the party rentals, and the lazy rivers, and things like that, they're absolutely going to cost more. So it's a part of our early onboard consultation. What's important to you? What's your lifestyle look like? What do you need to be close to? What do you enjoy? And then what can you A, afford, and B, want to afford? Because sometimes those things are different. You may be qualified for X, but you may only be comfortable at Y. So when we have this overall conversation, we make sure that you tell me all your goals and dreams and aspirations as it relates to a home. And Tirrell tells me what you can afford, and you tell me what you want to afford. And then I tell you if that's realistic to have those things within that budget. So it's very important that you have all those conversations up front, that you're absolutely right on some of the HOA fees, some of them with the lagoons and the lazy rivers and the water parks and things inside the community centers, etc. It costs a lot to maintain those. And as soon as you close a gate into a gated, it's even more expensive because you're typically picking up fire and police and some other services that you don't get.
And the gate people.
Oh, and the gate and the repair of the roads. I mean, how come?
Well, you know, and I'll answer that as well too. So I would never myself move to a neighborhood without HOA. But I would never move without one.
Okay.
Because
why?
You don't want to live to people that don't cut their grass, don't maintain their fence. They bring your values down. But what Dwight is talking about with gated neighborhoods, I tell my clients that's not even a concern, because if you have that kind of money to live into a gated neighborhood, that HOA is really not a big expense to you. You know, a gated neighborhood is not going to be your typical home. It's going to be a home that is elevated. It's going to be 900,000, $1 million. You know, correct me if I'm wrong, Dwight.
We have some here. We have some.
Well, maybe in Houston, not in Dallas.
Yeah, we have some.
It's hard to get them in Dallas.
Get a range. You can be in a $250,000 gated. Matter of fact, I just sold one yesterday.
Yeah,
for $310. My client bought it for $220, rehabbed it for about $40, and sold it for a small profit. But they have a range of price points within this gated. But those HOAs are expensive for everyone behind that gate.
Right, that is true.
Me right now, I'm in a neighborhood that ranges from about 580 to about maybe $1 million. And my HOA fees, I just wrote a check today. I write it for 2 times a year for $275.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
And we have a community pool, and that's it. But they also make sure everybody in our neighborhood maintains their property. So I would not want to live. So, you know, it's that old adage, do you want to live in a beautiful home surrounded by somebody in a shack? You know, somebody doesn't cut their yard because now critters overtaking that, and critters don't stay in their yard, they go to your yard. So I do like HOAs, but I also know that you got to get the right HOA, because I know there's some.
We didn't invite your HOA in my neighborhood, man. I pay $250 a month, so yeah. And I'm not sure if I get $3,000 a year value out of whatever they do.
Are you in a condo?
House.
Wow.
Well, the key to Tanya's question is, yes, it's very important. And it matters who you're partnered with to do the business that can answer those questions. Here's what I want. Here's what I need. Here's what I like. Here's what's important to me. Here's what I want to spend. Here's the radius I want to be in. Can that happen or not? A lot of times it can. Sometimes it's like the answer is yes, you can have that, but you're going to have to move another 15, 20 minutes out. So now you tell me what's important.
And also with
absolutely need to know it. It shouldn't be
with HOA, we get to vote the people out if you go to the meetings. I go to my HO meeting. So does my wife. We go there, or give your proxy vote, for somebody to vote in your behalf. There's meetings. If you don't like the people in your HOA live in your neighborhood.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, and you can, if they're too aggressive or they're not aggressive enough, you can act in your best interest and help vote them out.
Yeah, we have that going on constantly in mind. There's always constant. One group wants to take over, another group trying to pull them down. Where they're going to spend the money, whether we we have some land out back, whether we pull a park back there, a group pool, or we put up a gate. And only to find out if you put up a gate, you have to maintain the streets yourself. So there's all these other costs, and where people want stuff. And for the last couple of years, HOA has been doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I don't want a gate. That's one thing I don't want. I never wanted a gate because I know if you get a gate, you got to pay the gatekeeper too.
Yeah,
they're not having a salary of $10,000. They're having a real salary. So I don't.
How do you, in your experiences, if you're looking at getting into a home that has an HOA versus not, how do you assess the value of an HOA?
Talk to somebody, Tom.
What JR said. What is it buying my money?
How will you know that? But how will you know that going in the door if you don't know? Until you're there.
When I look at mine, we're paying $550. Just in my neighborhood, I see we have a well-kept pool. I see they have barbecue pits out there. We have private keys to get in there, but we're not going to have lifeguards. Some of them going to have lifeguards. You got to pay for them too. So we have no lifeguards. So you have to make sure you maintain, everything. The outside of my neighborhood looks beautiful. For $575, $600, I'll do that. Now, if you're telling me I'm paying, $3,000 a year and they're not doing anything for me, they're not throwing, events, they're not helping beautify the streets, things look run down, I'm going to say that's too much.
They maintain the common areas, but they used to put on these events.
Yeah.
Bring out rides for the kids, cookouts. I mean, all kinds of events, big screens. We have a little cul-de-sac. Everybody would come and watch the game. And they cater in the food. They were very active, but just the last 2 or 3 years, there's been so much fighting that it just drove everyone away. No one wants to even go to meetings anymore. And the person that's in charge has just done nothing in the last couple of years. So no events. They maintain everything, but the events is really what made it worth it. Because they were like every other month, there was something going on. Lots of stuff for the kids. They were planning. You guys have a pool, but we don't.
I agree. The kind of money you're paying, they should do that. So I would not put up what I'm not doing. The kind of money I'm paying, I don't need an event on anything. Just maintain. I'm good, and I'll do my own events. But I don't want to pay what you're paying.
HOA, I'll invite them to see if they want to come and take over ours.
Here's where I can kind of button this up from a general perspective, as opposed to a specific neighborhood or not. On the way in, if you're considering getting into one of these HOA communities, get with the realtor, because on the back end here, we can download and figure out what it costs to transfer a property, to transfer HOAs and all that. And we can see what's offered for those services. So we can kind of research it on the way in if you're considering that, if you want that. And I too think it's a good thing. If you're in it or on the way in or already in it, the key is you got to be active. You can't be anywhere and just sit on your thumbs and not do anything.
Correct.
What will happen, it sounds like they frustrated a lot of people, and it's very people engaged, and the ones that are engaged making all the decisions, and they're not doing the things you like. They have to report out a budget annually, and that's public information to the homeowner. So you have to, my daughter's in a young condo, and I make her at least zoom in to those meetings. She's disinterested, but I'm like, you need to know what's going on in your community. So the answer is, if you're in one, be involved, or at least show up to the meetings. And you can send a proxy if you absolutely can't make it, but you're going to have best served by going there and knowing and asking questions and having a voice and hearing that dialogue. And if you're on the way in or you're considering it, it's very easy to do the research on the way in. This community over here on this side of the street charges X and you get A, B, C, and D. This one over here charges Y and you only get A and B. What's important to you? Again, hiring the right professional is going to help you make that decision.
And not Dwight, this is next question directed towards you. With more and more people staying at home and living in mama's and daddy's basements and decide not to get out there, what are the demographics that you see from people who are coming in? Are they more younger people? They're older people, or what do you see for the most part from your customer base?
I have an amazing business. I have all ages and all races, believe it or not. And I'm really proud. I'm really proud of that. I think I certainly want to help people that look like me. That's super, super important to me. But I've been very intentional not to build a business on that only, because if I could go off script, and I know we have a great audience, but we're not as loyal as some other national. I can't afford to have a business that looks exclusively or 93 or 95% like me. So I have some kids. I think I told you on one of either the last show or two before, I had a 19 or 20-year-old cousin bought a house. I have, retirees, dual career, and everything in between, and being referred.
I understand, dude.
And I do have a pretty diverse business. It's majority African American, but it's slightly. But I have lots of.
Why don't we do this with the time that we have less? Let's kind of look forward. I know that, of course, we just had the meeting in June. No movement on the interest rates from the Fed. Someone basically put it out in public. They expect 1, maybe 2 interest rate moves this year. What do you guys see possibly for the end of this year? Anything from a policy standpoint that you've seen, and what are you projecting? I know you don't have a crystal ball through the end of this year.
Yeah, we seem to get this wrong every time, but I expect we'll get some relief. Maybe down to the low 6s or something like that, and that's not based on anything other than a feeling, but it'll make a drastic difference. You would be wise to get the home now while the home is low and the rate is high, and swap out your rate once you've secured the home.
That's right.
It drops even 1/4 or 0.5%. The competition is going to get fierce, and the incentives are going to go away, and you're going to have to compete. So you're going to win the battle, and you're going to lose the war.
Because you're going to have
any stronger position. The rate is going to go down, and you're going to be worse for it if you win.
Well, we will get at least 2 cuts. And there'll probably be 25 points. Especially once the Fed chair is fired. So it was a very close. The last 2 votes have been very close. So so it will happen before the end of the year. There will probably be 2 cuts.
Yeah. So I'll answer that. I believe that my belief is that we can get to the high 5s, and that
happens.
I'm
gonna love life if that happens.
Yeah, I believe we can. I'm not going to say we are. I believe we can. But I want to also circle back a little bit, because I think our listeners need to hear this too. When we were saying HOAs, we were talking about homes. I also want to make sure people understand condos are different. Condos have, this is your HOA. It's going to be a lot higher because they maintain. There's no yard. There's some different things. But what I try to tell, especially my older clients, when they're telling me, I want a condo because I don't want to pay for that yard, I let them know, certain stories. Well, when you're a condo, you're an owner of that whole place. So if something goes catastrophic, you take place in the repairs in what's called special. I think it's special
assessment.
Special assessments. And I've had people I known that have been in condos that when the winds were high and we had trees fall over on different condos, they got a 6-month special assessment where their payment went up $1,000. So you better understand, when you get in a condo, there's some things that can happen that you're responsible for. So you got to make the right decisions when you're buying a condo, and you need somebody that has some money saved up.
Well, let me add to that, Tirrell, if I may, to add on to your statement. If you live in a neighborhood and you decide to take your neighborhood private and put a gate up, you also take ownership of the streets at that point if the city approves it. So you get a tornado come through your neighborhood and rip up the streets, you and your fellow neighbors may have to have a big repair bill to put it back if it's torn up. So a lot of people, those
never
repair
had.
costs when you own a condo like that. I guess most folks don't know that, but it's good to know.
Yeah, condo for sure. I'm like, in my house, I don't believe so because the city owns the street.
Right.
The white maid.
Unless you take it private. That's our neighborhood's talked about taking our neighborhood private and putting the gate up.
Private. Yeah.
So if we go private,
we are responsible for our walkways. I can't let if I let my sidewalk become unwalkable and I don't fix that, and somebody stubs their toe, they can sue my insurance.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Dwight,
I have actually with regard to policy reform, and I'm not sure why we didn't prep for this one, but Abbott did sign a bill down in Denton on the 16th that's going to give us some relief on property tax.
Good.
Bill,
maybe
homestead exemption. Something positive on this show. The homestead exemption is getting ready to increase to $140,000, and for seniors and disabled over 65, I think that exemption can go up to $200,000. So we are getting
any relief that you can get on the property tax would be great.
Yeah, I agree.
That was signed on the 16th in Denton.
That's one thing that hurt Texas overall is our property tax. Everything else is pretty good for us, the management of the state. But when it comes to those property taxes, when you're writing checks for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a year, it becomes a hard hit.
So I'll play devil's advocate. I don't get
where the money come from, but I don't know. Do I ask what?
Yeah.
I'm not a politician. I'm a realtor.
with Texas and Florida not having state taxes, I'm not so upset over property taxes because I know my property taxes, the biggest portion go to my schools. Right. I know if my schools are funded correctly, I got the right people moving to my neighborhood. I know if I underfund my schools, it's going to run down my neighborhood. So I don't want my property or school taxes to go down to where it's not going to create the right kind of people that are going to be schooled in my neighborhood because eventually they're probably going to live in my neighborhood. That's just
good point.
Devil advocate part.
Fair, but that happened, and that's positive. I knew the bill was on his desk, and I was Googling at the top of the show, and I did not.
Yeah, but I do believe we should go down a little bit. I'm not saying I don't want to go down to zero because we got a whole lot of problems if we're not paying anything to those schools.
We got enough issues with schools in this state.
That's right.
All right. So for these last couple of minutes, let's go ahead and get to our closing remarks, and then we will spend a couple of minutes with you guys on so we can talk a little bit about sports before we close this show out. So I'll have you guys to make your closing statements until next quarter when we guys have you back. So Dwight, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Tirrell.
From a closing perspective, I think, again, I know your audience knows me by now. I think it's always a good time to buy or sell a property when you're informed. So if you have a need to downsize, upsize, right size, add to your portfolio or something like that, get with me. Let me partner you with someone in your area that I know and trust that's gonna look out for you like themselves. And just don't be nervous about the market or what the news or even what's happening in the world and all that stuff right now. If you have a need, partner with the right professional and don't get stuck in the cement. We can always make good deals happen and put you in a position to make informed decisions. So we love the opportunity to do that. And my reminder is certainly I handle all over the Houston metro, but I have a vast network of people that look like me that do this at a very high level all over the country. So lean into me. I'll find you somebody that can do a good job for you right now, tomorrow, regardless of the market.
Tirrell.
I say that, Dwight and I, this is going to be a partnership that will last forever. When I say a loan officer and a realtor, and I tell all my clients, it is so much important to talk to me before you talk to Dwight. And the reason I say that is because I'm like that receptionist. He's the doctor. I'm the one that is going to look at everything. I'm going to look at your credit score. I'm going to look at things that we can do to increase them. I'm going to look at what you can afford. The worst thing you can do in this world is go to Dwight first and say, I want a $400,000 house when you have a $200,000 budget. Because if he thinks you can afford that and he shows you those houses, which he won't do, he'll make you get me first. But you're not going to be happy with what you get. So I just tell all my clients, come see me. Let's talk about your budget. Let's talk about how to get your credit score better in order for you to get the best rates out there. And then we're going to get with a professional such as Dwight and put you, in the right house. But you have to know what you're looking for or what you can afford or what you want to afford before you say what you want. Because we all want $1 million house, but all of us don't have $1 million budget.
Yes, I know that's true.
Love the shout out as a doctor, not just a doctor. I'm gonna be a surgeon. When you come to me and you come to me with the right information, then I'm gonna do it with precision from that point forward.
Yeah, but all of you don't do that.
Yeah, you're gonna get everything you deserve.
Yeah. I know you were gonna do it, but I know a lot of realtors that, I want to $500,000 house. Let's go look at it. No.
Before we move on to sports, let me say this. Tirrell and Dwight are two of the sharpest guys that you'll ever want to meet for his property, acquiring property, or investing in property. But the reason we bring them on the show is not because they're super intelligent and super knowledgeable, but they're also two of the guys that we trust the most. There are other people that we know that's in the real estate game, but I've met with Tirrell. We've had lunch. I brought my daughter. I don't have a problem with referring friends, family, or anyone that I know to these two guys because I know that they're going to take care and have a vested interest in looking out for their best interest above profit. Sometimes they do deals that are not very favorable to them, but it's favorable to their clients. And they put those deals together anyway because they're more concerned with helping people than lining their pockets. So I just want to say that these are two guys you reach out to. We put their contact information. Reach out to them if you have any questions or concerns, or when you get ready to buy a house or sell your house, even if it's not in your area. Dwight will know people around the country he can refer you to, and Tirrell will make sure that if he can't take care of your deal, he can tell you whether you're getting a good deal or not. But most likely, I'm pretty sure if you go to these two guys, they will be able to take care of you. Look out for you.
All right. Before we go to sports, I want to acknowledge a couple of folks who jumped on the chat line.
Yeah.
John Williams, our CPA extraordinaire, also a fraternity brother.
Super CPA, yeah.
Exactly. He's been on our show a couple of times. And Brother Frederick V. Roberts, Esquire, out of Prairie View, Texas. Want to thank him for joining us on the chat line as well. Of course, I acknowledge Miss Tanya, who jumped on a little bit earlier, one of our most loyal followers, in addition to Miss Dominique out of Atlanta. And then Mr. A.T. Malone said, shout out to my guy, Tirrell, one of the smartest men I know. Great conversation guy.
That's my guy.
Anthony Curtis, great information and dialogue. Anthony Curtis, not exactly sure who he knows. Want to thank you for joining us.
Well, Mr. Collegiate, did you give a shout out to Mr. Collegiate?
Yeah, that's Freddie Roberts.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get to a few sports stories. We'll make it pretty quick, Jimmy. I know that for those who are big basketball fans, you know what just happened a little bit earlier today. The pick is in. The Mavericks had the number 1 pick. Unlikely, but they got it, and they picked Cooper Flagg. Jimmy, I know you are a big Mavericks fan, so you have to be very happy about this.
Very happy. And plus, I'm a big Duke fan, so to see Duke players go 1-4 in the draft is a big thing for me. So, but yes, the Mavericks are on the comeback. So once we get Kyrie healthy, hey, watch out.
Now, what kind of injury did Kyrie have?
He, I think it's an ACL injury. So he won't be back to the middle next year.
That's a long-term heal, isn't it, Jim?
That is. So it'll be the middle of the season before he comes back. So we'll have maybe the kid that we got from the Lakers as a point guard, or I think they've been trying to work out and trying to find another point guard also. And plus, one of our centers, Gafford, I think they signed to a 3-year deal.
Contract.
Yes. So he's secured, I think, with him and the other young kid that we got from Duke. They are 1-2 power punch at that center position with AD at the 4 at power forward, and with Cooper Rush backing them up, and then the rest of the guys that we have that can play. Yeah, the Mavericks should be able to do something this coming year, even without Kyrie.
Well, I can tell you what, this is going to be that West is very tough, man.
It is
to get through. So it's going to be real interesting this year, but I will see what happens, Jimmy. I mean, you've got, of course, we don't know what to expect from the Thunder. Luka's there now, but they've got a fighting chance. You've got Denver, who was very tough after switching their coach towards the end of the year. You've got the Minnesota Timberwolves. You've got the Rockets. We'll see what they look like with KD. So the West is going to be kind of a beatdown, and OKC is one of the youngest teams in the NBA right now, and they just won the finals.
That is true. So yeah, the West is going to be very tough, very competitive. So you have the ball every game in order to come out of the West. So it should be very exciting basketball coming up.
And what are your thoughts about this finals? Of course, congratulations to the Oklahoma City Thunder for beating a very, very tough Indiana Pacers team to win the NBA championship.
Yeah, but we'd already predicted, at least I did, Tom, that when SGA won the MVP, that he would also get the hat trick, win the playoff MVP, and their team would win the championship. So, so it was a good series. I think after Game 4, the refs stopped becoming an issue. So the last 3 games were pretty much decided by play on the court and not necessarily the calls on the court. So I was glad to see that, and congratulations to OKC. They played hard. They made the plays. They made the shots. So they deserve the win.
You know what? I really hate to see Tyrese Halliburton, of course, go down in the first period of Game 7. I mean, you don't know how much that impacted the game. I think T.J. McConnell is a great point guard, but you're a great facilitator. And Tyrese Halliburton going down is you just hate to see. You want the best players on the 2 best teams playing, and whoever wins. And I hated to see that happen to him. And it's I think it was what kind of injury did he have, Jimmy?
They said initially it was a calf muscle, a strain. But this was actually a tear.
Yeah.
This time around. So
he may be out the majority of next season.
Oh, he's going to be out. It's going to take a while to recover from this. So, yeah, he'll miss a good portion of the next upcoming season, which is in a few months. After summer, the NBA season starts up again. So he won't be ready to go by then.
So what are you guys' thoughts, Tirrell? I mean, I know you're a big Mavericks fan, and Dwight, I know you probably pay attention to sports, probably not as deeply as Jimmy does, but what are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, so much real estate happens on the evenings and weekends, and that allows me to be my best stuff for your audience. I know we got Kevin Durant. I know there was some mumblings, but he's won before, and he can fill the basket up. But I assume our Rockets have other moves to make after they did. But again, for the next X amount of years, to this interest rate come back, I'll just catch the 1 or 2 games a year and keep selling out.
There you go.
What about you, Tirrell?
Yeah, with getting Cooper flag, we can stop crying about Luka.
Luka who?
We have way better defense.
Yeah, Luka who?
Not as good as offense, but probably better offense. He's going to be more of a facilitator and make the game easier for everybody, as opposed to what Luka does and gets his own shots and gets everything off. I think it's going to be much better for the Mavericks in that. Unlike JR, I did think that Indiana was going to win that series when it first started. If Halliburton didn't get hurt, I thought they had a great chance to win that. It was a dogfight. It was something I didn't expect. I would not have picked Indiana to go to the finals when it started. I would have picked Oklahoma City to go, but the fight I saw in Indiana, I've not seen nothing like that in a long time.
And the first 4 games have been officiated the way the last 3 games were. Indiana probably would have won.
And I'll say this much: I've got to give some kudos to a guy that I don't particularly care for, Rick Carlisle. I think he did a hell of a job coaching the Indiana Pacers. I was not a fan of his at all when he was coaching the Dallas Mavericks, but I think he did a heck of a job.
I thought he did a great job too.
Good deal.
One last shout out, put on the radar, because I'm in the prediction business. And I'm very seldom wrong. Watch out for those Cowboys. We're actually going to win a playoff game this year.
Oh, don't do that to us.
Yeah, the first round of the
Don't do us
playoffs, we're
like
going to win a
that.
playoff game this year. I don't know if we're
playoff
going to win the
game.
second one, but we're
Oh,
going to win the first one. We're going to win a
No,
playoff game this year.
I'm going Super Bowl.
Girl, I'll put some money on that one.
Must
Not
be the top of the hour. Must be the top of the hour.
I know
put some money on
Schottenheimer
that.
has been
Not
a little unknown entity, but from the people who cover the Cowboys, I mean, really cover them, and some of the words that are coming out about the OTAs and the in the early camps and the atmosphere around there, unless they're plagued with injuries,
Well, yeah, bar
they're
injury.
saying that we could possibly split with Philadelphia and Washington, in which case end up with a 10-7 or plus season, which should get us into the playoff. And if we get there, we're going to win one game this year.
And don't
It
forget,
won't be a one and done.
Yeah, since I think it's 2008, there's not been an NFC East
Repeat.
champion that repeated.
That's
So
true.
Maybe Philadelphia's not even the radar. It's maybe just us and the rest, yeah, or Commanders.
I'll take that. So we'll see. We have 3 draft picks that are not just projected to play this year, but to actually start. Certainly the offensive lineman we drafted in the first round, but then one of the cornerbacks. I don't know if Diggs is still nursing some injury.
He looks bad.
One of the linebackers, they say his kid that we got in the 4th round, has been hitting people, sticking.
Yeah.
Well,
But Diggs is bad. Diggs looks bad.
I will say this: good luck with all that. The Cowboys have never been deficient of talent, so good luck with all those projections.
And then we got a couple of kids they said we should get some playing time, especially one of the defensive tackles, big kid, 320, that can clog up a line and can run a little bit. So we got a couple of starters and some.
As long as you're not Mozzie Smith. As long as you're not talking about Mozzie Smith, I'm okay.
Winning one game in the playoffs has never been the aspirations of any championship.
It's never been, but Tom, you got to start somewhere.
Y'all
We
been
ain't won a
starting
damn
somewhere.
playoff game so
The
damn
Cowboys
long.
have been starting somewhere for 30 years.
You got to start somewhere. So let's start with at least winning a playoff game.
They did that a couple of years ago, Jimmy.
Huh?
They did that a couple of years ago.
Tampa Bay. We retired.
Well, they did that a couple of years ago.
The great one. We retired. We retired.
Okay, Tom. That's
Tom Brady retired.
I believe our quarterback, who's been with us for 9 years, is actually like 1-7 in the playoffs. So you're talking about 1 playoff win and 7 trips to the playoffs.
He has 2.
2?
He has 2.
Who's the second besides Tampa Bay?
Romo he beat Tampa Bay.
That's 1.
No, that was our second one.
Who else did?
I thought they beat. Was it Philly?
Who else did Dirk? I mean, who else did Dak beat in the playoffs?
I have to look, but him and Romo both only have 2 wins in the playoffs.
They do. They both have 2.
Both of them.
Again,
okay, we haven't been very successful. Hopefully, we can get past the first round this year and then see what happens. But it looks like we may be on the right track. Schottenheimer may be putting us on the right path to change the atmosphere to get us back in the winning ways.
Yes.
good luck.
All right, great show as always. Enjoyed it.
All right, folks. We want to
Thank
thank everyone for joining us this evening. We want to thank Tirrell Richard and Dwight for joining us this evening. As always, great information. We want to thank our fans. Make sure you share this information with someone who can get value from it, Jimmy. And Jimmy, if it is Wednesday night,
It's certainly Black Man Speak. We'll see you guys next week.
good night, everyone.